Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a review of a low-budget American independent horror film, English language, released in the year 2009, directed by Chad Ferrin, and this film is called Someone's Knocking at the Door. And the story to this film is as follows. Up-and-coming horror maestro Chad Ferrin delivers this gruesome tale about a group of friends being terrorized by a pair of psycho killers. In a nod to 70s indie splatter films, the story follows 6 college classmates on a drug and sex-fueled weekend. When one of them is brutally murdered, it soon becomes clear that one by one they are being stalked by the unknown killers. So the movie centers on a group of college medical students. They're all friends and they're all into drugs. They like to experiment with things and they're also very horny. So one weekend they go into the hospital and they go to the basement where they're going to try an experimental drug. So they take this experimental drug, and this experimental drug has great consequences as they soon descend into a nightmarish sort of scenario. Now, while they're down there, they listen to a recording that happened many, many years ago surrounding psychopathic killers of John and Wilma Hopper. Now, these psycho killers got a lot of notoriety because they rape their victims to death. So this gets the interest of the college students, and they think it would be cool to really learn more about them. But it soon becomes clear that when one by one these college students are being picked off, and it soon becomes clear that John and Wilma Hopper might be playing a part in this disappearance. So what happens from that point on? It's a very, very odd sort of slasher film that really defies the actual subgenre itself. So to prevent myself from giving away too much, that's all I'm going to give you on the synopsis. So if you want to know more, please go out there and see this film for yourself. Now, my thoughts on this movie. I really haven't been experienced with Chad Ferrin before. I know he made Easter Bunny Kill Kill. I haven't seen that movie. And I really didn't know anything about this film before I got it. I got it because it actually looked pretty intense and very, very bizarre, which is exactly what I want. A challenging film and something a little bit different. And I really have found that lately independent horror films in America are the way to go. So I didn't really know what to expect with this one, but I was hoping for something that would really challenge me and something that I haven't seen before. And that's exactly what the film is. This is an incredibly bizarre, really, really twisted film that is not going to appeal to everybody. If you're a fan of the more traditional type of film that follows a simple plot and it doesn't really have any bizarre quality, this is definitely not the movie for you. But if you want something that is incredibly weird, very, very hard to watch, and just far out sort of black comedy, then this movie I would say check it out, especially if you're a fan of Chad Ferrin's film Easter Bunny Kill Kill. Now, what I got from this movie was the fact that Chad Ferrin is a very, very talented filmmaker. Now, it's a low-budget independent film, but the movie is shot in a way that it actually feels like it actually has a lot more going for it. The acting is very good. Noah Segan is in it. I like him. He was off Dead Girl as well. But I thought for a low-budget independent horror film, the acting was very good. It's a lot better than a lot of other sort of monster pictures releases that I've seen. So don't be put off by the fact it's low budget, because it really is a step above the norm as far as low budget independent filmmaking is concerned. It's a very psychedelic film, but I thought that matched the overall theme to it. It's drugs, so it kind of feels like you're going on the nightmare that they're going through as well. So I really like films that can portray the feeling through the screen and this is a viewer, and it really makes the viewer go along with it. And for that to happen, you really have to have quality as far as direction is concerned, and I feel that Chad Ferrin really does deliver that. It's a very colourful sort of film, very screechy sort of demonic sound effects that really make you feel like you're losing your mind. So all that combined, it really is a very impressive film visually and also as far as audio is concerned. So yeah, Chad Ferrin is definitely a filmmaker to look out for. Hopefully he can get some movies with a bigger budget, because I really think he can shake up the horror genre in Hollywood. Now, the violence is very hard-hitting, although it's not excessive. But what is excessive is the sexual nature of the film, and it's a very uncomfortable sexual nature. Now, there is a little bit of nudity, and just when you feel, the nudity is pretty good to see, I guess you could say, there's some fairly attractive women, but then all of a sudden it turns, and it turns really brutal. So you go from thinking, oh, she looks nice, to, wow, what the hell just happened? And that's the thing with Chad Ferrin in this film, is that you never know what you're going to get, because there could be a nasty surprise around the corner. And he has you on the edge of your seat that way throughout the entire length. So I really like that aspect to it. It's really unpredictable filmmaking, and it gives the film a little bit more of an edge. Now, a lot of people hated the ending. I'm not going to give away the ending, but I actually felt that the ending gave the movie a lot more to think about. I actually felt it helped the movie. And it made the movie a little bit more realistic, even though for the majority of it, it is greatly exaggerated. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to slag off the ending. I actually felt that that was a good inclusion. Now, the soundtrack is very good. A lot of people also dislike the soundtrack, each to their own, but I thought the soundtrack was pretty cool. Not exactly the style of soundtrack that I was expecting, but I actually felt it gives the film a little bit more as well. It's got very dark humour. Chad Ferren's got a very wicked sense of humour, so if that's not your thing, laughing at things that you don't really think you should be, then I would stay away from it, but I actually found myself laughing quite a bit. Now, the script was weak in parts, but it was also fairly witty in other parts. I actually found myself smiling and laughing quite a few times, and that's something I wasn't expecting. I was expecting something absolutely depraved, which it is depraved, but there's an element of humour that really lightens the mood, so you don't take it too seriously, although, you know, what's happening on screen is fairly shocking. Now, it's not overly graphic, but when the rape scenes especially happen, it's kind of comical, and at the same time it's very, very disturbing. So as I said, you have to have a particular sense of humour to really enjoy this film. Unfortunately, the movie doesn't come without its negatives, and the biggest negative is that I thought that although the positive of the psychedelic nature the film had, I actually felt that it was disjointed. The movie didn't really function in a smooth sort of way. It kind of jumped from scene to scene, and it didn't really have any continuity, and it didn't really have too much direction in the way that it was going. I know that was the deliberate ploy because, as I said, it's a psychedelic sort of acid trip nightmare. I've never been on drugs, but this is probably the closest I'll come to being on drugs because, as I said, he portrays it through the screen. But I felt that as far as storytelling is concerned and as far as having continuity that is very smooth, I felt that the disjointed approach really took it out for me a little bit. Fortunately, it didn't destroy the whole film because, as I said, when you get to the end, it kind of makes sense of it all. But that was the biggest negative I have of the movie, is the fact that, yeah, it seems disjointed and it just doesn't seem to run very smoothly because once one scene's over, it kind of jumps to the next scene straight away, and, you know, some of the scenes seemed a little bit rushed to me. But yeah, that is the only real negative I have of the movie. But overall, I was surprised by this one. It's not a great film, but it's certainly one to check out if you're a fan of the extreme side of cinema. And I will say that Chad Ferren is definitely a director to look out for. So, you know, I like this one more than I actually thought I would. It's not the most daring, shocking film of all time, but it's certainly up there, and it defies what the safe sort of boundaries that mainstream Hollywood horror has. So definitely a movie to check out if you're into this kind of thing. I was surprised, as I said, low budget independent filmmaking. I have seen some pretty dodgy production values, but this one is fairly of a high standard. So Chad Ferren has delivered something that is worthwhile in this movie. So I'm giving this one 3 stars. I actually felt, you know, it is an enjoyable film, but once again, you have to have a sick sort of sense of humour to appreciate what is actually in this movie. Alright guys, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.